There we go. That's us live jam, live to the universe from Abyss and Glass. It's not often to say
There we
that,
go.
is it? How you doing tonight, Manny?
Good, mate. I'm all
You're a
right.
bit rushed.
Yeah, getting the shipment off to Trinidad. So our
Brilliant.
first northeast alcohol shipment, sort of put forward, well, organised by ourselves, myself, and yeah, 2 gin distilleries ourselves, 1 brewery, Spey Valley, and then an independent bottler. So that's going to
So that's
Trinidad.
pretty good. So you kind of started off by taking the ram over to Trinidad, and now
Yeah,
you're sending them over our beer, our gin, and our whiskey.
yeah.
That's fantastic, isn't it?
All right. So yeah, it's good. I'm hoping it really kicks off because when business partner Pat was back over, he had a few bottles with him, and he because Port of Spain's quite a diplomatic center as well as a financial center for the Caribbean.
Right.
They actually had a few people out when he was out having a lime, having a drink with people. All of a sudden, they're like, "Oh yeah, take some of that." Yeah, and then all of a sudden, like these tastings, like even gins kicking off there big time,
All
but
right.
even the exclusive tastings, there's a lot of people who are really interested in it. So even in the lockdown times, doing what we're doing here or
Yeah.
having a small group around, it's really popular. So yeah, hoping to
Excellent.
get things.
Yeah.
Getting things.
So it's more a whiskey night tonight.
It is.
So I'm more on my territory because we are going to taste
All right.
the Islay
Yep.
Outlaw Ram. And we've got a few other Islay whiskies as well.
That's
So
right.
we've got 1 non-peated, we've got 3 peated, but we're going to work our way through these drams and talk about Outlaw Ram at the same time as well, Jim.
Yeah.
And I told Jim just before we came on, because we've had a kind of running joke on all these sessions, and the first time Jim gave me a rum sample out of an Islay cask, it was absolutely horrendous. It really, well, you said you liked it, Jim, but I just couldn't. I couldn't stomach it. It was
It was
too
very
much.
very strong. But it
Yeah,
was,
and
but like you said, it was just too much smoke. It was almost, and you were getting sort of burnt tire notes and all sorts of. It really was. But for me, it was one of those things where it was good because right, let's see what happens now.
absolutely, and a good job you did, because it's softened out over the months, and it's come out pretty damn good. And can't give away any big secrets, but there's some cracking stuff sitting in Islay casks up at Glass, and they're going to be good, aren't they?
Aye, yeah, yeah, and
Yeah.
it's
So I
only
mean, yeah, you were so late in coming in tonight, Jim. I've had a couple of these already. So and I had my nose in the tasting earlier. What are you saying?
You're doing your Christmas drams as well, aren't you?
I did that at 7:00, and one of my muckers from my Christmas drams is on already, Bill. So he's on watching. So yeah. So I don't know, how do you want to do this, Jim? What do you want to do first? Do you want to go straight into the Islas, or are we going to have the Outlaw first, or?
Ooh, drum roll.
Because we've got a Bunnahabhain Sturadur, which is non-peated.
Yeah.
We've got a Johnny Walker Black Label Islay Origin, which is getting to be one of my favourites. We've got a Kalila Cask Strength, and we've got an Ardbeg Corrie Vrecken. So we've got some big beasts there.
There's a bit of meat on these, aren't there?
Absolutely. And I'm looking forward to that Corrie Vrecken because I've just opened it tonight, especially for this. So
actually, I had to open a new bottle because I've got a Ugadal open, but I didn't have a Corrie Vrecken, so just for you, you.
Well, I've got a 10, a wee beastie, and an Oa open.
Oh, aye.
And because we've been doing the Whiskey Academy online with all the guys for Ardbeg in the States, it's been great. So I thought I'd treat myself to all the Ardbegs. And then Kirsty and Ian, very kindly at the Whisky Academy, fired me over a Corrie Vrecken. So, are we going to go rum or whiskey first?
Let's change it up. Let's do whiskey first.
Okay. Non-peated first?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so we've got Bunnahabhain, Sturadur. I only know to say that because I checked on its website earlier and it gave you a sort of phonetic STEWRUDHAR, Sturadur or whatever. So there you go. That's it. But I like these. I like their bottles. You know, the shape and the colour.
They're chunky, aren't they? They're good.
They are. And this one, I think this one's had a bit of sherry cask influence, hasn't it?
Yeah. So I can't advise anybody strongly enough, but if you do have a chance, if you're in Islay, to go and see Bunnahabhain, it was by far the best tasting we did, and also just real good. You know, they're a good fun bunch on Islay anyway. But is it Dave? Dave in who took the tasting was basically in charge of their shop there, and it was a tour of sherry really, because they keep all the sherry casks still on Islay, but most of the cask stock is now Central Belt.
Yeah. So this is a non-age statement, isn't it? But I've been saying on my nose in the tastings this December, I don't care if it's a non-age statement as long as it's a good whiskey.
Well, exactly.
So non-age statement, 46.3, quite strong.
Yeah. So because there's that other one, Tika Noir, I forgot how you pronounce the other, but there's Sturadur and whatever. There's the other one, but that one has, not meaning to be rude, but that one has less sherry notes. I think this one's the more sherry, but
yeah, this is
because you can
sherry cask. I think it's beautiful, fruity smell as well.
It's cracking.
It is. It's a lovely colour. I don't know how old that's going to be, but it's quite a nice colour.
Yeah,
it's not a sherry bomb though.
No,
but I mean I've got a Bunnahabhain 18, but I've not opened it yet. I'll maybe crack it open one of these days. But anyway, slans, Jim. Good to see you.
Yeah, I knew. When
that's quite nice.
All right, sherry. Yeah, you're getting that tartness.
It's a bit spicy, isn't it? There's not a huge amount going on, but I'm not getting a huge amount of sherry notes off that. I'm getting more fruity notes and a bit of toffee. But
yeah, I'm getting that fruit, and then it's sort of coming in now, a bit of sweetness.
Yeah, I can smell more of the sort of sherry notes behind it. That sort of woody, musty, dried fruits kind of smell starting to come through. It's got a bit of a finish as well. It's not a young whiskey, but it's not an old one, and it's 46.3, so it's got a bit of a
warms the toes.
Yeah. So Bill's just had one with us. He says it's a bit Christmas cakey. So
yeah.
A little bit of raisins there.
But you know, like we've talked about sometimes on some of the notes we've had in our tastings, where you get that fruit in the cake, but it's been cured in alcohol, so it takes you back to your grandma or your mum and whatever she'd put in. But because I'm still getting like raisins or like cherry, sort of dark cherry notes on it.
Dried cherries kind of thing. Right. It's not a huge note, but it's definitely there. I don't think I'd say it was my favourite Islay whiskey, but it's not bad, is it?
No. What we'd when we're allowed to sort of hang out properly again, when we're allowed to be adults, I've got some of the single cask editions from Bunnahabhain.
Ooh.
Yeah, but some of them are 60-point-something percent.
Because you went on a trip. You went on a trip to Ireland, came back with a bootload of whiskey, didn't you?
Yeah.
there's no customs coming from Islay to the mainland. So that's the great thing, isn't it?
No. Aye, yeah.
It's not like
It
you
looked
come
like
up in France or anything.
it looked like the bikes were weighing the van down, but it wasn't. It was just all the booze in the van.
And you took some Outlaw over, did you, and distributed to a few of the guys there?
Yeah, so there was quite a bit. So we actually left a couple of bottles at Bruichladdich, and then also we went to see Kilhoman, chatted to them quite a bit, and yeah, we're hoping that we get a bit more feedback later on. But you know, if there's some really nice sort of seafood restaurants down there at Port Ellen. So it was more of if the season carried on and if business was sort of a bit uplifting, then you could like put in some effort to trying to distribute as well to certain places in Ireland. But yeah.
I know I had a Kilhoman the other night in my whiskey selection box. Absolutely fantastic. Sun Egg, I think it was called.
Yeah.
Oh, what a beautiful whiskey. I really enjoyed it. So I remember in the past that I'd kind of thought they were a little bit young, but as the years have gone on, there's some great whiskey coming out of there. So that was a cracking one. I really liked that. So it's not bad. Not a typical Islay, obviously, because it's not peated. And I didn't get any of the brine and the salt and all that was on the website. Didn't.
No, not on this one anyway.
No. But decent dram.
Yeah, it was good.
Brilliant.
You know, one of the first drams a lot of people wrongly probably say, oh yeah, you know, it's your lead, you know, your first ever dram, try a Bunnahabhain sort of 10 or 12, you know. You know, because they try and get those toffee notes in and sort of bring people in that way. But you know, there's always complexity with the Bunnahabhains.
No, that's quite nice. I quite like that. It's smelling more dried fruit, cherries, sherry notes now. The longer it stays in the glass.
Yeah,
good. I'll maybe finish that later. But I'm trying to pace myself tonight, Jim. So
not needing that halfway through.
No, that's right. And because I've got that 2 Bruichladdich that you gave me to try, so I'm looking forward to them as well.
There you go.
That's going to be my Christmas Day dram.
There you go.
So, but we'll see. So where are we going next then?
Well, shall we go Johnny Walker Black then?
Yeah. So I'll show the people this one. So this is a really interesting dram that I got. The one time I flew last year, I was in Heathrow, and they were selling this. It's Johnny Walker Black Label Islay Origin, and it's a blended malt. So it's just got malt whiskey in it. 12 years old, and it tastes to me like it's a blend of Caol and Lagavulin. So I mean, Caol and Lagavulin, 12-year-old, you can't go wrong. And I got this litre bottle. And I can't remember if it was 20 or 25 quid, but whichever. That, you know, there's not a lot left. So that's that one. So what did you think of that one then, Jim?
I'm getting a little bit of like, you wouldn't call it, would you call it brininess or sort of seaweed notes? You're getting those sort of saline notes.
I'm getting the peat, obviously. It's that smoke, but it's both kinds of smoke. It's the sort of, you know, for me, phenols from Islay, the whiskies are split into 2 camps. You've got that smoky notes or the sort of phenolic medicinal notes. And I'm getting both of that off these. Not huge amounts.
Yeah.
And there's sweetness in the background as well. I have to say, this has been one of my favourite drams of the year. So, cheers. Oh, that is fantastic. What a smoke. It tastes more Caol to me than Lagavulin on the front when you first take it. But then now the finish that more medicinal, earthy note that I get from Lagavulin. For me, I prefer Kalila to Lagavulin. Always have done. But that's a delightful. I mean, even if it was 25 quid for a litre.
It's lovely.
It is. I mean, 12-year-old blended malts from Islay. You can't go wrong, I would have thought. I have to be very careful. I'm not going to have any more of that. I'll be fleeing up the stairs, Jim.
That is good. That's actually not too far off of what do you call it? Ileach? Ileach, which I gave you a sample of.
Ileach.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
so
the Ileach is a young whiskey from an unnamed distillery.
Yeah.
So, off Islay, obviously.
Yeah.
So, and lots of rumours about what it is. Well, I'm not actually sure what one it is. But that's not a bad whiskey for the price as well. And if you like that sort of strong, young spirit, full of peat, that's one to go for. But yeah,
this one's got a really good finish, as in it just keeps going and going. So I'm still getting sort of spicy notes in there.
It's lovely, isn't it? But it's not harsh. It's not a hard whiskey. It's a very gentle whiskey, and it's got quite a thin mouth feel. But for the price, I don't know how. I think it must have been the wrong price. I mean, you're not going to get a litre, a 12-year-old Lagavulin or 12-year-old Kalila for 25 quid.
No.
But to blend them together,
maybe it's one of those things where they were just getting rid of stock or something. Maybe you were just really lucky.
Well, it was just being launched.
Oh, well, there you go then.
And I was flying back up to Aberdeen. I didn't have a lot of space, so I just bought the one.
The one case.
Yeah, I wish. You know, quite often when I'm in flying out of Aberdeen, I'll buy whiskey in Aberdeen because you can leave it there and pick it up on the way home.
Can you? All right.
You ever done that? So instead of carrying it with you, buy it in Aberdeen Airport, and then you go around to that bit where the big bits of luggage are, you know, at the end of the booking in hall.
Yeah.
And you pick it up from there. That's what they used to do, and you pick it up from there. So it's great. You buy all this whiskey, just leave it there, and then get it on the way home. Great.
Cool.
So I'll need to keep a lookout for that. I think it was only travel retail anyway. I'm not sure now. Maybe it's been sold elsewhere because of the sort of dip in travel retail. But you get some great bargains in travel retail if you look.
And then again, it depends. Sometimes they'll just do a sort of mad fire sale on something, especially
Yeah, there is a lot of what I kind of say is like young non-age statements, fancy name stuff in travel retail. You got to watch what you're doing.
Yeah,
but you can get some good stuff. So no, that's quite nice. Quite enjoyed that.
That's good.
It's I'll have to get another one soon. So, but I mean, looking behind me, you can see the last thing I probably need, Jim, is another bottle of whiskey.
Or another case of Johnny Walker. Yeah.
That's it. But you can never have enough strips. You know, bottles and strips. My wife looked up in the cupboard one day and says, "How many Forest Mechanics strips does one man need?" I said, "Well, obviously 11, because that's how many I've got." You know, it's like that. It's how many bottles of whiskey does one man need? Well, obviously all those.
Yeah.
But yeah, once we're back up and running and allowed to visit and everything's normal, you guys need to come over, and we'll crack into a few of these.
Oh, and I'll bring some hardware in my end as well, just so.
Spot on. It's always good. Before COVID came in, myself and my mates, my football buddies, we used to meet every now and again, and we'd get through all my sort of near empty bottles and samples and half finished samples and all that. We've only been able to do that once in the last 2 years. So the next time we'll have one of them, Jim, I'll give you an invite.
Magic.
Yeah, good. So,
Right. Let's
so
go.
are we going to have some rum soon? Because we've got a couple of really strong Islay
just-
whiskies coming up next.
That's why I've picked up the Islay cask. Yeah.
Aye. Now, this, folks, is so interesting for me because, Jim takes me over some samples. I have a look, I have a look at them, a smell, a taste, and do some sensory reports. So I've seen this develop from something I really didn't like to something that you can sit and eat. And that really is a cracker, Jim.
Thank you.
See, I can't really smell a lot of smoke on the nose.
No.
But see when you taste it. You get that almost like a puff of smoke and a bit of spiciness. And then you're left with this sweet, fruity, toffee, citrus rum that is really nice. And the smoke has just gone, but it's there right at the start.
It comes back a little bit, so this is the second Islay bottling, which is from a rather newer distillery, shall we say, whereas the first one was from the distillery that we might be tasting another dram from in a minute. But so one very renowned for very smoky, very big, bold, very sort of long finishes, but always got some smoke and peat in there, which has made it very much the sort of, well, it is the smokiest generally whiskey. Not, you're going to get certain people who distill a particular ppm of something just because it's more like a bit more like a chemistry experiment than something that's going to be sort of for everybody to be able to grab.
But the thing about that, Jim, is you can put in really high ppm malt, and depending on the way you run your stills and where you take your cut points and how you mature it, you don't end up with a hugely smoky spirit sometimes.
Is that right?
Yeah, you can get a much smokier whiskey with less ppm, depending on how you run your stills, where you take your cut points, and how you mature it. So having a huge big ppm doesn't necessarily lead to a smoky, phenol-y whiskey. There's lots going on in there other than the ppm of the malt. So to me, a lot of it is a bit of a gimmick.
Yeah, it's almost like trying to turn something that's very layered and got a lot of depth to it into almost like a top trump sort of soundbite of, this is ppm. It's like, well, sometimes so what?
No, if you get a really heavy ppm malt and treat it in the right way, you'll end up with a very, very phenolic whiskey, a very smoky whiskey. So I'm just going to show this bottle again, Jim, because my mate Bill was asking what this is. So this is called Outlaw Rum, Bill, and this is the Islay edition. So you'll recognize it by the dagger on the bottle there.
Yeah. So that's where we're sipping on Islay Cask 5.
So that is really nice.
Yeah.
And I was saying earlier, I've been very fortunate to see a lot of the samples that's coming through. And there's one Islay cask with a certain type of finish that is just going to be a hit.
Yeah, and that's getting bottled in January.
Ooh. Excellent. That's good. Yeah. No, that's great. No, I've got to say, Jim, I was enjoying that before you came on. And it is a lovely rum just to sit and sip, just like a dram of whiskey.
No.
Every night we meet, I've always got a can of Coke just in case I don't like it and I've got to put the Coke in. But I've not put any Coke in yet, have I?
No.
So
No, and luckily with our sessions, you haven't really had to try that with too many. Although I think some of our rum agricoles were one where even drowned in. Yeah,
some of those rums we did in the past were really quite raw.
Aye, but I've got a few more, so in the new year we can do do another one.
But that was a great education for me. I love doing that because I'm just kind of very little awareness about rum. So doing these sessions has been a real education for me. It's been really good. But yeah, I definitely recommend that. And I was looking at it in Gordon and MacPhail the other day.
Oh, aye. Yeah, we were supposed to be doing a tasting, but that got cancelled, and the one at Inverurie Whiskey Shop got cancelled too.
Yeah.
I also noticed our Blether and Inverurie Whiskey Shop is one of the longest ones on there.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I was talking to Rachel about that the other night. I don't know if you know, but we started at about 6 o'clock, was it? No, 7?
I thought it was 7. Yeah.
7. Well, I was due to run a church meeting at 8 o'clock.
I think you went off at like 9:30, was it?
9:30 or something. So my wife ran the meeting and then finished the meeting, and then I appeared. So that was a long chat, but that was great fun, wasn't it? The guys were really interested.
And there was a sort of like half an hour sort of pre-live sort of chat, and then it was an hour and 45 if looking on YouTube, and then we're probably on it afterwards for another 45 minutes. So yeah.
Brilliant. So Ardbeg or Kalila next?
I think Kalila.
Okie dokie. This is my favourite distillery, just because of its location and its beauty. And this was a bottle I got a long time ago. It was for use at Diageo events, so it wasn't on sale to the public. It was a natural cask strength, 59.3. Non-age statement, but that's okay. But so it's really quite clear, so I don't think it's very old.
No, it's light, isn't it?
But it was in bourbon casks. That's a really light peat. It's so sweet as well, isn't it? Oh, it is woody and ashy.
You're getting those toffee notes, aren't you?
It's creamy as well. And I always get a lot of time on Kalila and some of the other ones. I get a sort of banana note coming through.
Okay.
But I think that's one of the phenols in the way I perceive it.
Yeah.
So, I haven't tasted this for a long time. So cheers.
Cheers. You'd almost go a little like banoffee or like
Oh man, that's got a kick. It's that banana toffee, yes. Sweetness. And not as much smoke as I remember.
To be honest, it's as smoky as what we were getting off of the well, no, it kind of stays there though, but maybe that's because it's the cask strength, so it's just sitting on the side of the tongue.
Yeah. But it's not got that sort of medicinal phenolic notes that I got off the Islay Origin, because that's got Lagavulin in it.
Yeah.
Kalila is very much the sort of bonfire, smoked ham, ash, burnt wood kind of smells. And it's interesting because Kalila and Lagavulin both use exactly the same malt with exactly the same ppm level.
Really? So it's just purely the distillation and where the warehouses are?
Distillation and, very important, the cut point from spirit to faints. So that has quite a big impact on the sort of phenolic range that you have. And Kalila doesn't take some of the larger, more harsher phenols that Lagavulin may do. And it's that, for me, it's softer and more bonfire than phenolic. But it's a delight.
Because I'm getting quite a lot of light notes, like you said about the vanilla, but I'm getting sort of custardy, strokey, sort of creamy, buttery notes. And that's what it's sort of going on and on and on.
Yeah. more often than not, bourbon, quite often refill casks for Caol Ila. So there's not a huge influence from the wood, but the influence that's coming in are ex-bourbon casks, so American oak.
Yeah.
So that sort of vanilla, custard, coconutty sweetness.
Yeah.
And but it's just, for me, so much of the enjoyment of whiskey is about memories and thinking about where the distilleries are. And Caol Ila, I don't know, did you get up to Caol Ila when you were over?
We did, but they're going through a major engineering works on the site. So it's not actually open to the public anyway.
Right.
Whereas a lot of people go there just because they know of the distillery and know of its heritage and the blends it's in, or basically that's been the major whiskey in some of the favorite blends.
Yeah.
So there were still people queuing to basically go and front door, but they're doing so much work on site. Yeah, and actually, it's almost one of those where you need a royal invitation to go see it anyway.
Yeah.
Because
they're putting in one of the Johnny Walker experiences at Caol Ila.
Oh,
I call it Johnny Walker Corner. There's the big experience in Edinburgh.
Yeah.
So they're now they've built a Johnny Walker Corner at Glenkinchie, Clyneleash, and Cardew, and they're putting the fourth one at Caol Ila. So they've got these visitor centres spread throughout Scotland. So that's a lot of what they're doing at Caol Ila, is getting that visitor centre ready.
Okay.
So
yeah, because it's the track before you go down towards Bunnahabhain and the new what's the independent
Ardnahoe?
Ardnahoe,
yeah, because that's up the north of the island, whereas the Lagavulins, Laphroaigs, Ardbegs are down on the south. Yeah. So I drove that road many a time between Caol Ila and Port Ellen, then Lagavulin, then back to Port Ellen, then up to Caol Ila. I was over there quite a lot. Yeah.
Well, you can tell it's cask strength, but it's very rich and it's got a lot going on.
Yeah, it's not. I didn't get a huge finish for 59%.
I did, but it's only started to fade away. But my tongue's still salivating, but you've still got this sort of creamy, like rich Devon custard, sort of these notes lingering in the background.
It's absolutely lovely. Caol Ila 18 is my favourite whiskey, or one of my favourites. But I do like Caol Ila 12, Caol Ila Moch. There's loads of Caol Ilas that I do like.
I don't know about you, but have you tried the Distiller's Edition?
Have I got? I think the one I had is finished.
Because I tried that, but I prefer Talisker Distiller's Edition.
Now I've got a Talisker Distillers Amoroso cask finish. That is delicious.
I mean, it's the Talisker Distillers Edition. The reason I got put onto that is because after our friends in Inverary had done the usual thing of like, oh, here's the Englishman, let's get him smashed in the pub, and we'll try a few different whiskies, and he'll wake up fighting in the middle of the night, which I did. It was more of that we went to Skye, and then they still had pre-Diageo bottles for sale at the distillery, which I then picked up, because at one stage it was like Glenord and Talisker were like sister distilleries, even though Glenord's obviously just on the Black Isle almost.
Yeah, well, that's where they make the malt for Talisker at Glenord.
So when we did the whiskey tour, and we're looking at 2001 probably, you could pick up bottles of both on Skye, but it was still very much the people who'd been there 80s, 90s, and so on.
Right.
And then we tried the Distiller's Edition, and that got me sold straight away. And I bought a bottle of the Glenord as well at the time. But even then, they were sort of, 15 to 18-year-old, and it was like a 94 or a 92 or a 94 Distiller's Edition. But then against the Kalila, I didn't enjoy the Kalila so much because it was more briny and I got seaweed but
Right.
I've never not because I don't like it or because I'm a snob about it, but I've never gone back to try the 18 or something like that on the Kalila.
Kalila 18 is great. When I was working for Diageo, I used to drink a lot of Kalila 18, and we used to get cheap bottles in our staff sale, staff shop. And I remember they were selling these little bottles of Kalila 18 for £5. And I managed to source a case from Bushmills Distillery.
In Ireland, all right.
Got someone to buy it for me and take it over. But that's all I've got left of my stock that I had when I left Diageo. So I opened this recently and I can't remember why. I think it might have been when my wife sold her shop.
I thought you were going to say when you met me, but never mind.
Well, I'll keep this for you and me, Jim. Okay.
Magic.
But but you got to pay like 80, 90 quid now for a 18-year-old Kalila. So it's not cheap.
Right.
Good stuff.
Are we dangling the Corrie Vracken?
No, I've been so looking forward to this, Jim, because I've been doing quite a lot of work with the Ardbeg guys for the Edinburgh Whisky Academy. So when I got the Corrie Vracken in, I sent a message over to Cameron George, who's the national brand ambassador for Ardbeg in the States.
Okay.
And asked him what casks was the Corrie Vracken in, because they play a lot on the different types of casks to get their different expressions. And he says it's ex-bourbon, first, second, and third fill, with some virgin French oak.
Oh, okay.
And the French oak is toasted, but not charred. So I don't know what that's going to do to it, but it's a whopping 57.1%.
Yeah.
And I've had the wee beastie, I've had the 10, and I've had the Ano recently. So I said to Cameron, I was really excited because I'm going to be tasting this live. And so I just cracked it open before we started. So,
because one of my other favorites is Ugadal.
Now I've not tasted that. I wonder what does it say about that? Is it different casks or?
It doesn't actually say. It's actually left you're left hanging a little bit, to be honest. I'll do a bit of digging because I've got it still in the box.
Yeah, there are some of the Ardbegs that they use sherry casks. I think the Ano is it maybe has sherry casks. I'm not sure, but I've really been enjoying the Ardbegs. So
I wasn't sure.
It was a brand that really wasn't on my radar just until about 4 or 5 weeks ago.
Yeah, because I wasn't sure if it would be too smoky or it would be something that
No,
because of the peat and the smoke, it was,
See, that's a lovely, gentle, smoky smell. I mean, Cameron does say it is a ferocious dram, so I'm looking forward to seeing how ferocious it is. It's quite gentle on the nose. Oh well, here goes. Looking forward to this. Cheers. Oh, that's spicy. Spicy on the tongue. But what a gentle smoke.
Gentle smoke, but then it comes up the nose and down the side,
It's just like, it's all over. Now, that doesn't feel like 57%, does it?
No, it doesn't at all.
That is very, I try not to use the word smooth because some of my whiskey buddies on Facebook get upset when you use that word smooth. But that's lovely and gentle and warming, but not harsh. Mm.
No, it doesn't.
Oh, that's sweet as well. That's quite interesting. That's a non-age statement, but it tastes as old as the 10. You know, it's not harsh. It's not got that sort of, sometimes you drink a cask strength whiskey and you feel like you've got indigestion. You know, there's nothing of that here.
Yeah, because some of the Bunnahabhain sherry cask ones are, they're in the late 60s, and you have to add water because otherwise, all you get is like really big grape skin. It's quite tart.
Right. Okay.
And then as soon as you add water to it, it just blossoms.
Right.
But this one, 57's a bit of a whopper,
Yeah.
but it doesn't feel like that at all. You've actually got you've got quite a rich layered, but it's not heavy around the mouth like you'd expect the 57.
It's not got a thick oily mouthfeel. It's got that tingling on the tip of the tongue, but then when I haven't sipped it for a couple of minutes, but the smoke is just everywhere. It's still there. That is a cracking whiskey. I'm really getting to be a big fan of Ardbeg.
So remember when I suggested putting some Islay casks down? And you were like, no, I don't know.
No, don't do that, Jim. Well, fortunately, Jim, as a consultant, you've taken some of my advice and ignored some of my advice.
Yeah.
And
not out of spite or arrogance. It was more of, well, we're gonna have to be bold and try something different.
Yeah. Well, it's just I think it hasn't been done, has it? It's not been done before, and just sort of peaty, smoky rum. It just didn't sit right with me.
Yeah.
In terms of what I'd known about in the past, and then when you were starting to educate me on what rum tasted like, I just thought, kind of the last thing you really want to do is introduce peat smoke.
Yeah.
And, how wrong can you be?
Well, the thought, I think, possibly from yourself, but others was, oh, you want these light notes and the sweetness and some of the rich, creamy notes. They'll be steamrolled by the smoky and the bigger Islay flavors. And actually what happens is they layer in very well together.
Well, that's what I've noticed on this Islay. Is it's not on the nose for me. And I'm not surprised because we've been nosing Kalilas, Ardbegs and Lagavulins. So I'm not surprised we're not getting it on the nose now.
Now, what I'm getting like toffee notes.
Well, I'm getting quite a bit of citrus now.
Okay.
Toffee, citrus, fruits. But when you taste it,
I'm getting creamy, like it's almost like fudge or.
Yeah. So when you taste it, even after that Corryvreckan, that smoke is still there. And then an absolutely wonderful, smooth, gentle sweetness and fruitiness. I think these casks have really softened down that rum, but added that little bit of extra with the smoke. And like you say, just a little bit of layer upon layer of something. And it's worked, which is really good. It's a surprise.
And from someone who was like, oh no, definitely not.
Well, especially after those first samples. You got to admit those first samples when it was like burnt rubber. Just
it's funny because I don't, even when
you can't remember that.
No, I actually don't get the burnt rubbery notes.
Right.
But then even on some of I've not really tasted a lot of Lefroy, but some of the samples you gave me, and one was a Lafroig in there. Oh no, the Lafroig was from Ardnahoe, and I tried that, and a lot of people say, those are some of the notes that are coming through, but I don't get that. I just get like driftwood bonfire, and I get some of these other, just wood fire going on, but I've never really got the rubbery piece of it. Although what I do get sometimes, if it's very almost like a thick oily feel, it almost feels like a bit of, not racing circuit, but you get that sort of transmission oil, old Land Rover. You can almost get a faint hint of that in there as well.
Yeah, well, I remember we got a sort of petrol-y nose off it as well, didn't we, at one point?
Yeah.
But no, time is a wonderful thing. Time can fix a lot of ills. And the time in those casks is just giving it just enough smoke to make it present, but not to overpower the lovely rum that's behind it.
Aye. So all it did was complement each other, but you just needed to give it time for the wood to do its magic.
Yeah. No, that is nice. Completely different drink to what we've had with the whiskies. Yeah. But then you were never trying to make a whiskey, were you? By putting it in the whiskey cask. You were just trying to give it that little bit extra, little something different.
Yeah, we're trying to show matured rum in its best form. And therefore, even here in this lineup, all of them have got really strong characters. And all of them I'd be happy to drink on, on any special occasion at all.
Yeah. Well, I'm quite surprised that Kalila is not my favorite in that lineup. So maybe the Diageo part of me is being pushed out.
Your demons.
When I worked for Diageo, that's all you drank, Diageo products. But now to have the chance to have Bunnahabhain and Ardbeg and Outlaw and everything, it's great. So,
well, I'll have to top you up with a couple of Bunnahabhain samples, and then what we can do is we can do almost like just an Islay, because I think we'd put the Kalila at cask strength didn't come across as cask strength, but the Corryvreckan I didn't realize how strong it was in comparison to the others. It's almost 15% up on everything else.
Yeah. No, I didn't realize Corryvreckan was so strong as well.
But it's very good.
There's a nose coming off that Corryvreckan now. It's like almost like creamy porridge.
No, Cranachan.
It's a sort of cereal note, but a sort of creamy cereal note, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of Cranachan, because you got the roasted oats with the cream.
Oh, I'm glad I opened that tonight, Jim.
I haven't drunk this for a while, actually, because I don't, apart from our sessions, I don't actually try a lot. But with these little sampler bottles, it's good. It's reminding me of what I used to drink and haven't. Because when we were in Trinidad, I used to take ultra rare smokehead. I had Islay, and then there were, what did I take? I took a few other Ardbegs across. I think I left the Talisker at home.
Right. Just in case somebody drank it.
Yeah, like me. But the whiskey selection there was very light, and only in a couple of shops. So you were getting some of the usual like 8s and 12s, and it wasn't really something that because you're spending money as if you were buying a Corryvreckan or an 18-year-old Kalila just to have that, sort of in country. So
yeah,
it gets a bit painful. So I'd bring one of these along. So in Trinidad, if you're going to a party or a barbecue, you call it a lime. So you go to someone's party and you bring a bottle, and all of a sudden they're bringing this rum. some of it would be out of like a little bottle like this, and they go, "Oh yeah, you want to try some of this?" But it's out of one cask that their mate of a mate of a mate that they once knew at school has
Right.
managed to like siphon a bit off, or he knows somebody. So,
Right. Okay.
but then I'd bring a bottle too, and then it wasn't even really a tasting, but it was just sort of more of a bit of an adventure whilst you're there.
Yeah.
But no, that Ardbeg's great.
I really like that. I mean, of the ones we tasted with the Ardbeg team, I really like I know, and it's a non-age statement. So it's like I'm fine with NES as long as it's good whiskey. And there's another one. Don't know how old that dram is, but if it's good enough, it doesn't matter about the age.
No.
So a non-age statement's not a bad thing. It's some people in the industry don't like it, but I don't mind it.
No, but it's like anything else. It's like some of the whiskies you've been working with, where you're getting sort of options on 8 and 10 and 12-year-old, and when done really well, and the spirit's been distilled absolutely bang on, and then the casks are.
That's right. Just make a good spirit, put it in a good cask. You can have whiskey relatively young. I mean, I'm telling you about, where is it? I've drunk one of these, but I haven't opened this one. That's a 4-year-old Diluin.
All right.
And it's a whiskey. So, sometimes age doesn't matter.
No. So, that's quite an old label from them now, isn't it? Because they've gone and revamped it.
Yeah, that's the old Carnmore, when it looked like they'd just kind of labelled it in the garage or something. you know? But I don't mind that. It's you don't need fancy labels and fancy bottles if you've got good whiskey.
Aye. And
there's been some great stuff from Carnmore. I quite like them.
Yeah.
I haven't really tried a lot of their new stuff, but well, maybe give it an explore. So anyway, that's been a good night.
I have, mate.
I don't think I'm going to finish all these.
The usual man that comes in and tries the rums isn't.
She's there, is she? Is that away with your Islay rum?
Initial taste was a bit shocking, but yeah, you liking that now?
What's that?
That's the Islay cask. Well, we've got another convert, mate. You see?
Good. Oh, the hand comes in for more. Yeah, because Rachel's more a sherry cask person, isn't she?
Says that. We haven't really tried. Well, it still needs time. Well,
you've got to remember it's a bigger cask as well.
Right. Yeah.
And mind you, again, I was surprised. When did you get that first sample out of the sherry cask? That was only about a couple of months, wasn't it?
Well, actually, we did one almost the day we filled it. But obviously, then you've got because we make sure we get like wet casts and so on. You've still got the grape skin, and you've still got some of the alcohol going around. Oh, tumbler's finished.
Nice one. Because there was quite a lot of colour after even only 2 months.
Yeah, it went a really deep red. Obviously, that's at cast strength at 67. Yeah. So when you filter that and then this, that, and the other, it would take some of the colour out, but only. Yeah. We only do particulate filter. We don't do the chill filtering or anything like that. But because it's European oak as well, you've got to give it that little bit more time because the grain isn't so open. So
that's it, and it'll just take a wee bit. It'll take a wee bit longer. But then is that going to be marketed as Rachel's rum or something? Because it's her cask, is it not?
Yes.
Oh, she thinks so. But,
yeah.
It was my cask. It was my birthday present.
I think. Well, the thing is, as well as that would be almost its own bottling because it's a ton, so it's a 500-litre.
Yeah, you'll get a lot of bottles out of that.
So, that's like 2 hoggies put together.
Aye.
The only thing about that is, because, like you said, the surface area is less because there's more liquid to sort of wood, comparison or ratio. That might take quite a few more years until it's, we haven't we haven't nosed that now for about 3 or 4 months. But now because of I was up there this morning doing the loadout that's now going back to Trinidad. So we've done this combined order that we've brokered ourselves, and that's going back to clients in Trinidad. But this morning, you were lucky if it was -5. It was probably more about -6 or 7. So it was that dry and cold.
Yeah.
The inside of the Land Rover was more iced up than the outside of the Land Rover. And that was like 2 jackets, couple of fleeces. So I was walking around like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man from Ghostbusters. Just, but why I meander into that one is more in that sort of temperature. There isn't the moisture there for the casks to really start working with the alcohol, and that temperature will stop.
Yeah, there's probably not a huge amount going on inside those casks just now.
Not right now.
But it started. There's definitely something started there, so that's good. So,
but right away it was similar to how I just tried that Kalila cask strength. I went straight down the wrong. But as soon as we put it in, you were starting to get that sherry bomb notes, but it just tasted very, very young.
Yeah, it'll need a while, but it'll be worth it. So that'll be good.
It'll be interesting
and a different expression again. So hopefully, we've got a message here for Bill. He's away to buy an Outlaw.
Good man. Well done, Bill.
Good man, Bill. Good to see you. So, well, that was a good night, Jim.
Aye.
I am gonna shoot off, drink some water, and I just heard my daughter arrive. She's just off the bus. She's home for Christmas.
There you go.
So I'll away and see Lisa. So have a great Christmas, Jim.
And you, mate.
Have a good Christmas, Rachel.
She's already gone. She's hunting through the cupboards for rum.
She's going for more rum. She's got the taste. Anyway, have a great Christmas, Jim, and a new year. And let's try and get together sometime soon in the new year and just have a dram and a chat and whatever.
That'd be good. All right, mate.
Okay.
Cheers, fella.
Right, thanks for joining, guys. Thanks for all your comments. We'll see you all again soon. If you're watching my drama day, I'll see you tomorrow night about 7 o'clock. All right.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Bye now. Merry Christmas.